Welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today, that's probably not the permanent title, but we'll call it Edge of the Wood. I've got to give these things titles, you know. And this scene is based on a photo I took on one of my trips. And actually, it's at the edge of we went to visit an old church, and there's a lot of churches are over there in England are they have gravestones around them. Yeah, so this was like a little cemetery, and it's just a little spot. The water feature, the water on the bottom is something that I popped in, and that might be a good thing to maybe for those of you hungry for painting information. You know, you're probably trying to make photos work, and that's often a challenge. And the thing is, like, you basically have three areas of your landscape, right? You have the sky, you have the interesting tree forms or hill forms or mountains or whatever in the middle area, and then you have the bottom of the painting, which would be the ground plane. And the odds a lot of times of getting all three of those aspects of the landscape having a bit of reference that's awesome in that regard in all those three ways, it's pretty iffy. It can happen. It has happened to me, but most of the time I either have to use a bit of different reference for the sky. Now, in a painting like this wouldn't be that critical because we just have some light coming through the trees, so it's negligible in this painting. But the bottom of this painting was just a bit of flat nothing, like just lawn or whatever. There might have even been a stone or two sticking up, which that's not what I wanted to paint. I was interested in the way the tree shapes were oriented, and the interplay of shadows with the light coming through. And that's one of the things that fascinates me about landscape, and so one of the things I like to paint. But on the bottom bit, I just looked around and found just some random bit of water. And if you were to look at my composited reference photo, you would see the resolution's very low and it looks a little different. But it doesn't really matter because it's all there to stimulate your imagination and help you create a great painting. So if you are working with a photo compositing program, don't worry about things like that. It's not like you're trying to make an award-winning fake photo. You're just putting some stuff together to inspire you to make a great painting, and that's my approach. And actually, in the members area, there's several lessons I put up there, and I probably should again because I need to actually start doing some more of that. I'll go through phases where I'll just composite a ton of reference, and then I'll spend my time working my way through it. And a lot of times I like to revisit old composited reference and make new paintings and things. And to me, the whole artistic process actually starts when I'm out in nature with my camera and I see a pattern in nature that I think would be a good thing to paint. But like I said at the beginning, the odds of every aspect of that being good are negligible. And in the early days, I would just try and use my imagination. But the thing is, like, when you're getting visual cues from the reference, and you're actually what you could, if you're trying to ignore that and use a bit of your imagination instead, it's almost like you're creating an internal war while you're painting, and that's not going to usually lead to a good painting. You're almost better off, I'd say, if that's the approach you want to take, do use your reference to do like that initial underpainting like you just saw me do, and then just put it away and do all the colors and other bits just using your imagination. And then maybe at some point you can pull up the reference again and say, oh, okay, I could pull in this or that detail to finish the painting, that sort of thing. That could be a good approach if you don't want to get anywhere near a computer. And even with the computer, you can make some really weird looking things, and then you end up painting them up really weird too. So it's a process, yeah. Anyway, this scene I painted back in, I think it was June. All of this work you're seeing now was June. And it's very similar in a way to a painting I did a couple days ago, in that it was on a textured board. And texture boards, I need a lot of more wet paint, to get all the paint in the nooks and crannies. I use a lot more oil. And I find that when I've got everything covered and I want to go lighter and brighter, that I just don't like the quality of the strokes. So you're going to see a division in this session from yesterday. We'll probably be around the 11-minute mark, I think. You'll see the light will change and the framing of the camera will change, and you'll know that we're in the finishing session. And this painting, so it sat there for a long time, and I really liked it the way it was. I almost exhibited it the way it was, but I felt that it was a bit dark, as happy as I was with it. And so for that reason, I just waited for a good time to finish it, and getting to my point, as I always eventually do. This painting I did started a couple days ago was very similar to this with the colors and feel, and it had that same issue where I wanted to go in and finish it, but as I was trying to put light strokes over the wet paint, it was just giving a poor effect. So the next day when I came in the studio, I was thinking, oh, what do I want to do today? It says, well, it's time to finish that painting, because it's very much like the one I was doing yesterday. So in a sense, I can kind of keep going in the same direction, And it was a very successful painting session. I'm really happy with it. You run some risks when you. So much of my work for the last year, or even two, I've decided just to leave the paintings with the first whole color session. Boom. And if I can, I try not to get back into it. But there are times you have to put that painting back on the easel. And if you're new here, you might be wondering, well, why is that, Mike? What's the problem with putting it back up on the easel when it's a dry painting? The problem is that unless you're very disciplined or very experienced, there'll be things that you wanted to address, that you wanted to get into that painting. But odds are also very good that while you're painting, you won't be able to stop yourself from putting things all over the rest of the painting. And what will happen is you may have had you have an expressive statement of a moment in consciousness with that original painting session. So now you're a different person, a similar person, but still different. And here you are coming back and making, a statement that's similar. You're moving it forward, but it's not the same. Yeah. And so what happens is that you can lose the freshness. That's how I always term it. You're losing the freshness of that original painting session. And sometimes that's fine. There's going to be times where that's absolutely the best thing to do. But a lot of times, if you don't have to do it, you're better off sacrificing those little bits that you wanted to. If you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't put it up on the easel. Don't put it back on the easel unless you have to, unless you have a really good reason to. And when you do, stop yourself from getting too carried away. So you really respect the gestural strokes that you have come up with in your first painting session. You want to respect that and think twice before you mess with anything. That's my message to you, dear viewer, reader, listener, whatever you are. I guess you're watching. You're a viewer. Yeah, welcome to the channel. Yeah, so I mentioned also members area, and we're into the people now. All the ones looking to know that yellow and red make orange have bailed already. So members area is really cool because like the last video that was up is a really teachy video, and a lot of my videos that I'm doing in the right now, I'm getting a little more teachy as I'm painting. But even in cases where I'm not really getting teachy, you have the whole painting session live, and we're there together in the moment. So it's one thing for me to come over the top of, like the video we're looking at now is from Oh, we're in our new painting session, by the way. This is from yesterday. You can see the light changed a little. Uh, it's not as crisp either, yeah, because you're getting a little bit. The paint's been coated with liquid, so you're getting a little bit of a reflection off that, a little bit of haze. What I did is I basically just glazed this. I gave it a glaze. I'm giving it a glaze. That's what I'm doing, and that's a little bit of transparent earth yellow. Now, if I really want to go full out tonal, that's the kind of thing that gets you into that. But I wanted just to create a bed where I could actually come in and go a bit lighter. But I had kind of a cool grayish effect in the sky, and I wanted it a little warmer, and that was, reflected. It was in a reference, but another thing while I'm thinking about it is this painting is green on green on green on green. So a lot of times in the live sessions, you'll get a bit more insight on my attitude and approaches, because one thing I'm always mentioning in these live sessions that actually it's probably good to finish off the video with this, is that you always want to modulate your color. And it occurs to me I don't get that into that in the 15-minute videos. But so see this passage right now I'm painting with kind of a cool green, just bringing up some stuff in that area. As I move across the surface, I don't want to keep using that same green. What I'll do, and I can remember this very fresh in my mind because I just did this yesterday, what I want to do is modulate my color. The thing is, though, if I want to stay in the cool area, I have limited things I can modulate a color with, especially if I want to retain that value, In this case, I went for some alizarin crimson, and at one point, at other points, I went with like phthalo blue. There's only so many directions I can modulate and keep a cool green that was of a certain value. But the point I'm making is that you don't want to mix a color and just slap it all over the entire top of your canvas or middle of your canvas or everywhere. You always want to be modulating, changing that color and shifting it as you move across the canvas. And there's, like, if it's a warm tone, say it's a warm green, I could change it up with some orange, or I could change it up with some burnt sienna, or I could change it up with yellow ochre. Or if I want to go cool, I can bring in the permanent green light, or bring in the phthalo green. I have a lot. Even white sometimes is a great way to go, because you get into smoky, olivey greens, which would have some white in them. A lot of times in those cases, though, rather than go for white, I would try yellow ochre first, because yellow ochre is going to give you a little bit of that chalky kind of quality, which is not always desirable. But say like in the background area of this painting, the area of the bush that's back there by the sky, yeah, exactly what you want. You want a little white or a little yellow ochre. Otherwise, with my greens, I like them to be pretty, well, I say I like them to be clean, but by that I mean I keep out things like yellow ochre and white almost always, unless I have a specific reason to get into it. I do make my greens fairly dirty in a way, because I will take the basic Mike's green, which is like a acrylite yellow and ivory black. That's my base green, but I'll modify that a bunch of different ways. And my first thing I often will do is just automatically throw in some burnt sienna, and that's very magical, because it gives you a green like the sort of greens you're seeing in nature all the time. Yeah, which are natural greens, which don't come out of tubes. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting pretty close to the end. Hopefully, I'm pretty happy with this little painting, and hopefully you enjoyed watching me do it. It's a nice little scene, and I'm glad I finally got a chance to finish it and present it to you. Yeah, and if you ever have any questions or anything, you can ask them in the comments section. Or requests or whatever. I'm here for you. We're doing this together. What I'm seeing right now is I'm just kind of popping in a little bit more black in some of those black areas, because what I was perceiving was like a little bit of hairs and stuff stuck to the surface. But you got to be careful when you do that, to always like dab it a little so it doesn't get a weird shine to it. Anyway, until I come back with another video, do me a favor, do me a solid. please take good care of yourself, all your family and your loved ones, and stay out of trouble, and God bless.